Hello, people. I'm Adamant, here for another episode 2 actually, of the Legends of Runeterra sort of new player walkthrough. So, I'm going to cover a few things that I missed in the last episode and also talk about deck building and kind of where to find the cards. So, a couple of things that I started talking about regarding the regions and the champions. You can go to your collections tab here and you can click on the cards button, and this will give you every card that you currently have in your collection for all regions. Now you can further filter that by selecting the regions of your choice, and then furthermore, now you can see the cards you have. For better filtering, or actually for more wide open filtering, you can go to this little filter button, which will, if you hit the champion button, which is the, I guess, golden gem, then you will see only champions from all the regions. It's a good way to kind of get an overview of what they all do. Now, if you click on the show Unowned, that's the true secret. This will show you the champions that you don't own, and you maybe can use that to say, wow, okay, so I've got quite a few of them, but as you can see, well, only one ofs for a lot of them. But as you can see, a lot of things that I'm missing are usually the best ones, of course, RNG and stuff. So you might want to use that to review the champion abilities, because this is the crux of the deck. The combinations and synergies that you build will usually be very important to be related to your champion's abilities. Now, when you right mouse click on the champion, you get a whole cascade of cards. The reason for that is there's always a level 2. So when you level up, you get a kind of a super version of the champion. So that's an important, very important to know what they do when they level. And then after that, you usually have what is called, well, I don't know what it's called actually, but this card is a very interesting one and very interesting in the mechanics as far as a digital card game goes. When you have a duplicate of your champion, so let's say you have the champion in play and you draw another one, or you have another one already in your hand, that card transforms into this one. And what that does is it sort of gives you a special ability that you can use. And what you can notice here, they always create another one in your deck when you use it. So if you use this ability, it's assuming that you have a second Zoe, right? So you've grabbed Zoe, you've got another one in your hand, you cast this one, the other one in your hand transforms into this, you cast it, you get a special effect, it creates another Zoe in your deck. So what that does is it's replacing itself in order to give you the same number of Zoes at all times. Unless one gets discarded, or I don't know if it's called discard, it's called like toss. If another one gets tossed, then you lose that card, obviously, but this just keeps you from actually losing. Like if you use this card, you're not losing the actual value or the quantity of cards in your deck. After that, for this one in particular, there's a little bit more to it, because this ability creates a fleeting paddle star, which is now this next card. So you can see what this does. So if I do all these things, I get this in my hand, which shows you the speed of it, what it does. And then after that, you've got a burst. And the reason for that is if you go back here, if you Nexus Strike, which means if you hit the player, you get a super cool star chart in hand. Or if you have 1, reduce its cost by 1. Now, super cool star chart, you might wonder, what is that? Well, it's right there. Super cool star chart. First, you invoke a celestial card that costs 3 or less. That's what you get when she hits the Nexus. And then, last but not least, Behold the Infinite, which is what you get again. Nexus Strike, you create a Behold the Infinite card that costs 0. It's an actual card in the game, so they have it looking like it costs 2, but it costs 0 once you get that far. So Zoe's kind of unique. There's a lot of things cascading, but that's how you see what the effects are and all the different abilities or whatever the cards say. It sort of cascades, so you can scroll through them. Okay, So now you've got the ability to look at your the cards and the cards you don't have. And for the ones you don't have, when you click on them, it offers you over here on the left side, offers you what you want to pay. If you have wild cards available, that will be highlighted, or it'll be available if you have enough shards. And clearly I only have gold. So this is, of course, these are the most expensive cards in this. Isn't he adorable? Little Timo. These are the most expensive cards, the champions. And again, this is based on, this is the basis that your decks will be built on. So it's really important to find your favorites and therefore, use cards in your collection that are going to complement them. Sometimes you can type in things like keywords. So for instance, if I love Timo and I wanted to use Timo in my decks, I could go up here and a couple things. I'd want to uncheck champion. I'd want to check all the rarities of cards, and then I'd want to type in a keyword like, what was it? I just saw it, and puff caps. So we'll try puff caps as a keyword. Clearly. Okay, puff cap without the S provides me with a handful of cards that I would probably want in my deck to complement Timo. Let's see if there's anything else. So poison puff caps, this guy creates puff caps, so it still was able to search even though there's no puff cap in his description. There's the word puff cap later in in deeper behind his cards. So that's a pretty good search tool. It knows, it's intuitive enough to grab the card that it creates those things. So yeah, those would all go in the deck. So that's just a good way of using the tool to help you. And once again, just to cover myself from anybody who's like, he's not providing all the information. I'm 10 days into this game, so whatever information I provide, I'm hoping that it's as accurate as it can be based on my knowledge of the game. More than happy to leave. You are more than happy to leave comments below, directing us to more interesting tools that we can use to create our decks. But that's kind of what I wanted to cover in this video. And let's see, what else is there? Oh yeah, I wanted to kind of talk about the collection and the actual decks themselves. There's a couple of these things are cosmetics, and I usually don't have to worry about these. These are little animals or creatures that hang out on your board. Card backs, of course, you know what that is. Emotes, apparently you can buy cooler emotes than the stock ones if you want to be cheeky or cheers people. Or if you want to troll them with Any Day Now, that's a good one. And then when you go to your actual decks, there is one more quick tip. So when you're in your deck and you are in the edit window, you've got this little button on the top left. This is an important button, I've learned. And what it does is it gives you your ability to drag different cards in as the cover of your deck. And then the more important thing that I've missed a couple times is, depending on the deck you're building, or if you're doing any special rules, if you're building a singleton deck for the gauntlet, then you'll want to have this button clicked. And if you don't click that, it'll throw everything off. And I did that a few times and my decks weren't showing up where I expected them to be. And this filter somehow doesn't stick sometimes. So if you're messing around with a singleton deck and then you go over to the standard deck, it'll put your singleton deck into the standard button, and it saves it strangely. So just be aware of that. It caused me issues, and it probably won't cause you issues, but it did for me. Okay, so that being said, that's a standard deck. We're going to leave it as is. And these filters, you can go even deeper. You can filter by you saw this, by set. The reason this has foundations, filter by set foundations. I don't even know what that is. Owned, not owned, of course. Oh, these are the prismatics. Special category, celestials. I don't even know why that's a thing, but you can always type the keyword celestials in. And yeah, landmark, spells, and units. Those are the 3 types of cards in the collection. And then, of course, your rarity sorting, and you can also sort by mana cost, which is pretty all pretty good tools and pretty standard for card games. All right, so I think that does it. I guess the only last tip regarding champions is that it's a maximum of 6. Because you can only put 3 of each card in your deck, you can build decks for consistency with 2 champions, 3 each, or you can spread it around. In this deck in particular, I have 1 high-cost champion, a couple of mid-range, 2 Garens, and then 3 Leonas. So I sort of mixed this deck up with a 3-2-1. You'll notice that most competitive decks have 2. However, I have seen some competitive decks with a number of them, depending on, I've seen 2-2-2s. You know, it's all about the synergy that they provide and how they're adding value to your deck. All right, have a great, wonderful day or rest of your time. I'll see you next time on YouTube. There'll be more videos, and I really appreciate you being here. Like, follow, and subscribe as you see fit. Hit the notification bell if you want to be notified when I post new videos. I'll have more new player tips as well as some gameplay and some other things coming up. So stay tuned to my channel, and I appreciate you being here. Take care.